The Blue Jays are back at it again, so let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And as I said in the open, the Toronto Blue Jays are back at it again, making even more moves. They have acquired Steven Matz from the New York Mets. Now, on this video, what we're going to be doing is going over basically the state of the Blue Jays, in my opinion, and discussing all of their moves and where I think this now places them inside of the American League East as well as the American League as a whole. So let's get into it. Now, we start with the newest acquisition, and that is Steven Matz, the left-hander from the New York Mets. The Blue Jays would acquire him for a 3 right-handed pitcher pool, headlined by Sean Reed-Foley. He's been the only one with any legitimate Major League service time. And for the Blue Jays, this is just another arm to head into that rotation. Now, when you look at what the Blue Jays rotation is likely going to feature in the 2021 campaign, you're looking at Hyun-Jin Ryu, Tanner Roark, Steven Matz, Tyler Chatwood, and Robbie Ray in no particular order. This is a solid starting 5 for the Toronto Blue Jays. When you look at what all of these 5 guys can do for the Blue Jays, they can all help push this team further up in the divisional rankings as well as in the league rankings. All 5 of these veteran starters are going to be able to give a different look than one another when you pair them in the rotation. Now, the biggest factor to me and the biggest thing to me out of this is the fact that the 3 of the 5 potential starters for the Blue Jays are left-handed. Now, we know that the rest of the American League East is a very right-handed heavy group. So it's very interesting to me that the Blue Jays would have these 3 lefty starters. Now, that being said, you would also have, waiting in the wings, their top pitching prospect in Nate Pearson. There's no doubt that the Blue Jays have been very, very aggressive this offseason and are trying to elevate themselves further in the division, heading towards the top tier teams in Major League Baseball. When you look at the moves that they've done, and we'll break them down in order here, you're looking at guys like Marcus Semien, George Springer, Tyler Chatwood. They bring in Kirby Yates. All of these moves that have been done, and we'll leave links to our videos covering each and every one of these moves in these show notes below as well as up in the YouTube card. When you look at what all of these moves do, they help push the Blue Jays further up the rankings. Now, when you look at where the team is at this present moment, they made the postseason last year, but as one of the extra wild card teams. Going into 2021, this is going to be a much more experienced and certified group. Now, do they have the experience of teams like the Yankees and the Rays, the Astros? No, not necessarily. They don't have that quite just yet. But what they do have is kind of that youthful ignorance and exuberance. When you have that, yes, there are going to be certain mistakes, mostly in base running, and we would see that play out for the Blue Jays in 2020. But when you look at what they're capable of doing, this team has the makings of a superstar squad and a powerhouse team. You're looking at a player like Bo Bichette, who arguably can be one of the greatest players in Major League Baseball. Kevin Biggio, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who comes in with a huge name value. And now you cement that infield with Marcus Semien. Now the question is, where will Marcus Semien play? As I said in the coverage on Marcus Semien, and even on our video about Andrelton Simmons and his potential of going to the Toronto Blue Jays prior to him signing with the Minnesota Twins, to which we'll leave links to down in the show notes below. But when you look at Marcus Semien, he's not enough of a defensive specialist to oust Bo Bichette from the shortstop spot. So is he going to play second base? Is he going to play third base? I think he'd be a much better fit for third base at this point, because I think he has the arm strength enough to be able to make that move, because he's then less reliant on having to worry so much about getting to balls up the middle and ranging to his left and to his right. He can focus in on making truer and more accurate throws over to first base. Now, the infield defense is still going to be a bit of a question mark for the Toronto Blue Jays, because Semien, while he had a very good season in 2019 defensively, most other years he's been less than stellar as a defender. You also have Bo Bichette, who's not the greatest defender, but I do believe he's progressing to being a solid to good defender. Kevin Biggio is probably the best defender in the infield for the Toronto Blue Jays, and we know what Vlad is. He's there for his bat. But when you look at what this infield can do on an offensive perspective, that's where they really shine. If Marcus Semien can get back to his 2019 form, where he was the third place finisher in the MVP race in the American League, now you're dealing with a team where you can have 3 potential MVP candidates in the infield alone. Now, when you head to the outfield, obviously George Springer is now the centerpiece and the center fielder for the Toronto Blue Jays. You flank him with Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., both of whom are extremely talented players. Now this team is really taking an advanced step forward, and in my opinion, really leapfrogging even the Red Sox, who I think are going to have a better year than what they had in 2020. But when you look at what this team can do, I think that they are very much poised to heading towards the top of the division. Will they unseat the Yankees or the Tampa Bay Rays? I don't necessarily think that at this moment. But there's no doubt about it, with this team, they have the potential to really go on a serious run. Now, when you look at the rotation and the bullpen, they made significant additions. Bringing in Steven Matz and Tyler Chatwood, along with Kirby Yates, are moves that are really going to help the Blue Jays kind of sustain themselves in the rotation. Yes, sometimes when you deal with a very young team, you have a better chance of bringing in a veteran pitching staff to help certify and push them forward. We would see this play out with the 2016 Chicago Cubs. They would have a very young core of position players, which is what their strategy was in the draft, and then supplemented that with veteran starting pitching. The Blue Jays are following that same path. Now, will this lead them in 2021 to the same success that the Cubs had in 2016? We'll have to wait and see. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on the Toronto Blue Jays, the moves that they've made? Where does this now place them in the rankings of the American League East as well as the American League? Let me know your thoughts, theories down in the comment section below, and we'll discuss it further. As always, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and the bell to stay notified of every time we drop new content here on the Laracuente Legend Network. There's going to be a lot more coming here on the network, so make sure you keep it locked in. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you join us over on the Patreon account by going to patreon.com, searching for the Laracuente Legend Network, and joining us there. Your support is what's going to help us and allow us to continue bringing you this content each and every single week. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join me here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast, and I will catch you the next time the latest news, notes, and my personal thought, theories, and opinions have to be dropped about the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.